call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here. Here.
Dr. Hall? Here. Mr. Gray?
Here.
And Mrs. Gabbard is here.
Well, as you may have noticed, I am not present this far. I was unable to see him, and I've been asked to carry it. With that, Carrie, do you have a good news report for me? Thank you. This is fine.
To ensure that every child is challenged to reach his or her full potential academically, socially, and emotionally as they grow and develop into thoughtful, productive, and contributing members of society.
Thank you. Now, we have a good news.
Mrs. Trish, is there a good news report from the high school?
Good evening. So what I wanted to report this evening was the success of our students attending a manufacturing job fair. So what we did was we had administrators go to classrooms, have kids sign up to see who was interested in going to this manufacturer job fair hosted at Ritchie's High School. There was 100 students who signed up. However, when it came down to our interviewing skills session and our resume writing and our soft skills sessions, the number dwindled to 12, down to 3. We actually took 3 students with us, and I know that may seem dismal, right? And we had 3 others that joined us there at the job fair. A couple of days later, we had LI2 come and visit us, and we were talking about the numbers. They came and interviewed students based off of the result of our students interviewing there. And they shared with us that those metrics are correct. They will advertise for a job, they will post the job, they'll get 100, 125 candidates, they'll dwindle them down through the process of drug testing, phone conversations and phone interviews, and then they'll finally get down to about 5 candidates. So they told us, don't be dismayed about the work that you're doing. It takes time. And so we are continuing the work with manufacturing organizations so that we can provide job opportunities for our students and possibly opportunities for our community.
Thank you.
In conjunction with that, I'm pleased to announce that Mr. Kramer, who put that program together, is offering Monee the opportunity to host another career fair for our students and for students from home with classwork they're interested in participating as well as promoting. And it's up to us as to whether we want to host a fair. I think we should, because again, this will give our students an opportunity to interview for real jobs, not just a mock interview, but interviews that will actually lead to employment. So I think we're going to move forward with it. We haven't picked a date yet, but it will be on a day when we won't conflict with any activities here at the school, and it will be before the end of the school year. But our seniors, our graduating seniors who aren't going on to college or who may be going to junior college in the area will be able to job right away as soon as they graduate if they participate in this career fair. So I appreciate Mr. Kramer extending that opportunity to us. Mr. President Pro Tem, I also have a good news item, and it comes from Crete Monee Middle School. Katie Rudder, would you raise your hand, please? Upon entering the auditorium this evening, I found out that Katie has been recognized as Coach of the Year in Illinois for 8th grade boys basketball. That's a fantastic achievement and accomplishment. We're very proud of you in the district. And I can attest to the fact that not only is she a good coach, but she sets very high expectations for her athletes in terms of their academic achievements and their behavior. So job well done. Keep up the good work, Katie. Thank you.
Any board members have comments?
First of all, congratulations. I know the young man was going to teach me how to dunk. But I actually hurt my ankle, but I still went over there and he showed me some of his moves and everything. And got to spend a little time with some of the students that Coach really influences. So great job. Also, the high school and the manufacturing opportunity that we have, I think that is wonderful. It's awesome. I think that we need more of that. I know that we have, some conversations here and there on the board regarding certain classes that we're no longer offering. Some of us, when we grew up in high school, we had shop class, we had radio and TV, we had all these different things that auto repair and all of that. I know Mr. Trey mentioned that, previously. And home ec, all of that, lots of skills we learned before we left high school. And I think we need to recognize that our students are still in need of those opportunities, and if we can offer those, I think it will be awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. Yeah, if you coach anything like you operate your position as a security person, you are awesome. Good job. Just need a little bit more clarification. Yeah, 100 students that applied. Were they all seniors?
Actually, yes, they were seniors, and it was not 100 that applied. So we had 2 administrators go to the
Can you
senior.
come to the microphone?
All right, so it wasn't actually applying. We had administrators go to the senior classrooms, telling them about the opportunity and getting them to sign up. And 100 seniors committed that they would come to our job fair boot camp so that we could prepare them for this opportunity. And out of 100, we ended up with 3 going and 3 met us there. 400, over 400, yes.
So roughly a quarter of those students more than likely not looking good.
Yeah, I would say so. And so that's a task that we're working on ourselves, trying to identify the students who don't have a plan. So if you're not going to the military, you're not going to college, what are you going to do? And also understand many kids have never had a job. So whether it be McDonald's or Burger King. So we were offering them the ability to work on soft skills, interviewing practices. I sent an email out to the staff. They donated ties, shirts, slacks. We had two of our male administrators show the young men how to tie ties because I couldn't help them with that. And so it was a really nice experience. We were down because of the result of the numbers, but after talking to Allied Tubing and they're sharing their matrix with us about you start with 100 plus and you dwindle it down, they said, keep going. And so we're not going to give up.
I just don't want more energy position.
I understand. And we're also doing that with our success in our AP courses that we've increased over last year already.
You know that not all our kids are going to college. I had the opportunity to have a conversation with some members of the skilled laborers union, and they informed me that there is actually a shortage now with workers. They're seeing a huge shortage, and they want to be able to connect with our high schools in order to bring in programs and help establish classes and talk to students about the requirements. There's opportunities for apprenticeships where they get paid, but they are really concerned because they are not seeing the numbers that they used to see. And these are careers that are very important to us as a society. I know we are actually sponsoring an information on a couple of weeks at the high school. We're bringing in some of those individuals to talk to kids that are interested in going into those professions. But I'm a college person, but at the same time, you have to push those opportunities as well.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm a graduate of the best vocational high school in the city of Chicago, Chicago Vocational High School, when we had 5,600 kids in that school, back in the Stone Age. And I just want to say that the education system made a huge mistake by eliminating all those vast majority of vocational education. Try to indoctrinate the public that if you don't go to college, you're not. I think it's one of the biggest lies I've ever put across the public. Many of my friends that from high school went on to become electricians, plumbers, foundry workers, carpenters, you name it. They all made very successful livings at it, raised families. And it all stems from that basic education they got at Chicago Vocational High School, learn those skills. I recommend that you continue to pursue this. And I go back to Paul a little bit here. I've talked to many of them that we meet about once or twice a year. And their trades are dying for good apprentices. They're getting numbers, but they're not getting quality. That's the problem. They need people that can apply themselves to on work and put them in apprenticeship programs. 4 years of the journeyman, they get very good luck and all the overtime they can get. That's how you get your fancy cars and all the things you want. You work for it and you get it. I highly recommend you continue on this path and bring in as many of these companies that want to come in possible.
I think the board will be pleased to know that my cabinet and I are meeting with Mr. Kramer tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to talk about the future of the manufacturing program in School District 201U. He, as I mentioned before, has inroads to
for no cell phone usage before and after school. 71% of the schools have requested no cell phone use at lunch because it is a major distraction. The military has even taken notice that cell phones are a major distraction, let alone the fact of the infringement on bathrooms, taking pictures of themselves. The distraction, testing, the temperature violations. We spend hours creating tests that students are coming in and taking pictures of their classmates. teaching them soft skills, let's clean them up and put them with the way it is written and presented, to table it and come back with a policy that supports your staff in this district and takes one more disruption out of the classrooms for us so that we can do the jobs you hired us to, and that's to teach our students, give them the education they need. Starting in this district.
They bring into the school and other issues that they bring to the school. In other words, we're talking about a balanced curriculum once again, what I alluded to before. Sometimes more resources can have more students who have more needs than the regular students. And I know quite often that seems unfair, it seems like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. But the whole concept behind that is to make sure that every student who walks from the front door of the school has an equal opportunity for life. Agreed.
This was the second session that I took. The first one was at the national conference in San Antonio. And that one opened the door for me to understand what equity was. That making sure that each child is given what they need to succeed, that we're watching what these children need and assisting them in it. So that opened my eyes, and then we took this one a couple of weeks ago, and it just furthered my understanding about how we need to get those resources. This was more about now I need to figure out how we get those resources so that we can provide everything that's needs. So I thought it was a great event. It was put on by Peter, one of the school boards, who put on the first one also in San Antonio. So this was kind of like an ongoing learning event, and I thought it was excellent. And ended up coming home and asking her to purchase a few of the books that they talked about so that I could further get more information on how we reach out for those resources.
Okay, thank you. I attended as well. I agree. It was a very good session for me to learn about equity in schools, the concepts, and how we can afford them here in this sister. I also, the speakers were fantastic. In the afternoon, there was a speaker named Steve Pemberton, and he was raised as a foster child, and he's written a book, and he kind of told his story about how he went through life trying to find who his parents were, and all the different people in his life that touched him. And you know, today he's been an executive at Walgreens. Educator touch somebody's life and talks about the little things people did in his life that really made him famous to become who he is today. So that resonated with me, and we can all do this sort of things. As for the community forum update, I think we'll postpone that. President Gasparo has shared some ideas with the board to consider, and I would suggest that we wait until next meeting for her to come back and gather those comments back from the board and present that. I think from a timing standpoint, we'd like to do something that would probably coincide with the beginning of next week. And if the board, if it's okay with the board, I think we'd like to address at this point. We've had some questions about the prom. We had the administration here. We had questions during public comment. Let's go out and go ahead and get some of their response out.
Yeah, we'd like to be proactive. We know that there has been a great deal of concern by many of our parents and students who attended the prom that the cost of attending the prom was exorbitant, and they certainly were not pleased with the asked the principal of the high school as well as the senior sponsor to be present to address some of the concerns or questions that might be raised. So at this time, I'd like both of them to please come up to the microphone and you can explain the process by which the venue was selected, how the meal was chosen, and so forth, and be able to answer any questions from the Board of Education or the audience at this time. Introduce yourselves, please, and then go.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Tracy, the principal of Crete High School. Carolyn Ross, student government moderator. So I stand here personally offering an apology for the prom debacle. The menu choice made many people upset. I understand that. I'm not going to say it is an oversight. However, it is something that I was not aware of. Being a principal, I have sponsors, I have administrators over prom. I will promise you that I will take a closer look at the process of selecting venues, selecting menus, putting stopgap measures in place so that we won't have another situation like this.
The first question is to how we chose the venue. Last year, we had prom at the Park Convention Center. Prom was April 29th. So I didn't take over student government until November of 2017. So I did not necessarily know, I should say 16, yes, I apologize. So I didn't know exactly how they came about having prom at the Park Convention Center. Worked very well with them. We have a lot of options to decorate the room in the way you so please. And so wanting to basically have the prom in an area where our students are able to get to, and also having dates available that we would like for the prom to have been in May, not Mother's Day weekend, because we know that can be inconvenience for some of our, not only our students and their families, but our faculty and administrators families. We said May 5th. Tinley Park Convention Center was open for the South Hall room May 5th of this year.
So we basically set the date for this year at City Park Community Center last May. So it wasn't like we just did it, in the last couple of months. It was May of 2017, we set that date. For the menu, in regards to the menu, last year, the menu, of course, was set by the moderators when they basically made when they made the commitment to be at the City Park Convention Center. So no students had absolutely no input as to what the menu was going to be. When I saw the contract in regards to the menu, I was like, wait a minute, will the kids basically eat food? Because, kids, teenagers have a particular type of appetite. Well, last year at prom, the students did not eat the food. The food was, of course, had to be, you can't take the food home, of course, you can't eat the food away, the food, of course, was disposed of. This year,
Excuse me, what was on the menu last year?
okay, the menu last year. The menu last year consisted of cream of chicken or wild rice soup, seasonal mixed greens, tricolor rotini pasta, tricolor pasta salad with urban and barrette, freshly baked rolls and butter, with freshly brewed coffee, hot tea, and iced tea. And iced tea, of course, is unsweetened. Cheese ravioli with a Sardio cheese cream sauce, roasted pork loin with whole grain mustard and glaze, southern fried chicken, cream mashed potatoes with sauteed corn, New York cheesecake, or white and dark chocolate mousse cup. So that was the menu for last year. And seeing, as to, the kids not really responding to the food, this year I polled students in my project leading way classes as to my seniors that I had as to what they would like to see. I gave them a couple of options, and they were like, oh, Chicago style. Their eyes lit up. It was a well diverse group of students. They really truly liked the idea of having a Italian beef, the deep dish pizza. The deep dish pizza was kind of a kindness pizza. We know kindness pizza is very good pizza. And they had a Chicago style hot dog. If you look at the condiments and how everything was set up, it was beautifully set up. We actually had students in line to eat before we even said it was time to eat. So, they were really, truly excited about the food. Yes, I understand we're not going to appease everyone. However, just looking at the options, that's what the students that I polled asked for or requested. We also wanted, and they wanted like the strawberry and watermelon salad, which is part of another option. I asked, could we basically get that, with City Park, of course, said yes. I asked, because I know the kids are not drinking the iced tea, because iced tea, of course, is not tea. So I asked the option, and you guys like lemonade or soda, and it's like, oh, we like lemonade. City Park was so obliged to want to give the kids lemonade. So whatever we basically asked for in changing up the menu to, appease, because a lot of the options, the kids actually wanted, one of the options was barbecue, and they actually wanted barbecue chicken, So it's like putting the options to the students. Did I poll all of us in the class? No, I did not. But the great diverse of students that I have, that are true good students, really truly love the school and going to really speaking on behalf of their peers, they said this is something which they like and something which they will love. So in hearing the response, it was just, I was like, no, that's not so. And where did the money basically went for? I wish that you guys were all there because that really was gorgeous. It was beautiful as to everything that went in regards to the room. And I understand that, moving forward, having a little bit more input in regards to the menu, giving those the options. And that's the one thing that we do is we give a lot of options, even for the things that we did this year. I put in the announcement, we want to have a choice in regards to the theme. Here's, put your suggestions in, and there wasn't a lot of response. So, I'm putting it out there as student government moderator, along with my other assistants. We're putting it out there. Come ahead, let's get the momentum going. You can voice your choice. I'm very open in regards to, what students have to say, because I wanted this event, as well as the other moderators wanted this event to be for them in their world. I understand that if I was catering, of course, to us as adults, it would be totally different. But just looking from what I gather from the consensus on what, for the students in which I spoke to, this is what they consisted to. And I do have my student government president is here, as well as my secretary of students as well.
Okay, does anyone in the audience or the Board of Education have any questions you'd like to pose to either the principal or the senior advisor?
I have questions. Who made the decisions on the venue, on the menu? Was that, you said I booked the venue, so did you just book that venue?
No, and of course, I had to get a permission, of course, from our athletic director. Anything, any type of contract, so forth, that has to have a signature goes, of course, to our athletic director or assistant principal, which of course is Tobias. Did I share the menu with the administrators? No, I did not, because it hasn't been done in the past. So that wasn't a protocol. Now that, moving forward, that is a protocol which needs to be in place in regards to that.
Okay, this prom is for the students.
Correct.
So student government, how are they involved? What choices do they make? What decisions do they make? How do they participate in this?
With the student government, it was mostly like, how do they want to run that grade? Our students had, our student government president, along with, her group, was like, this is how we want to run that grade. The theme, we put the theme out there to not only student government, but to the whole school. So those years and students who were going to prom, we can have a participation in regards to that. A lot of things that we do with student government is we put it to the bottom. We put things on our Twitter page to make people aware. We put things on in announcements to make students aware. And I do understand that at times our students do not necessarily hear the announcements in the morning. However, we do make sure that we put things out and tell the kids to put things out so they can have a voice. For instance, today we had our last student government meeting. We had 4 choices in which our previous student government meeting in April that they put down in regards to homecoming for 2018. We put it on Twitter. We had 100 students that basically responded to what things they basically wanted for homecoming 2018. So knowing what we basically did in this process, I took a step back, and what I did was I told the student government, here are the 4 choices in which we'll pick up. These are the number of votes in which each one received. What will the week look like for each one of these particular themes? And so that's what they work on today. That is what's going to be put to the student body. So they can basically see, and then once they put them in order from the student body's votes, then we present it to administration.
When did you find out your options on the menu?
The options, the menu, of course, was sent to me back in, I want to say, April, is like during our spring break time. And so coming back from spring break, we had to make sure that whatever the options, of course, what the needs to set or whatever Timmy Park had to do to make sure we had the correct, not the correct amount of people or whatever needed to be worked with taking place.
So you looked at them and not knowing what the food was going to be.
Well, you look at the person who wants to secure the place. And then you work with their liaisons as you get closer to the date of prom.
I think we really teach the learning here. I think our students are hurt. They're frustrated. I'm frustrated. I have not been off the phone or off my emails since prom. They were contacting me from prom. I think we need to definitely look at this process, because what's the purpose of having student government? What's the purpose of having all these different clubs if they're not going to be involved in the one thing that they're looking forward to for 4 years? We can't redo this. And I'm very sad. I'm very, very sad for what I heard and what is taking place. And I certainly hope that we never have to sit here and go through this again.
And I just wish that, that you saw the pictures as to how beautiful the running looked and so forth. And I mean, where everything basically went, and I understand as to what you're saying.
And I understand, I heard the decorations were the best part of the prom. And to me, that's another sad statement. They love the decorations, but that's not what I took away from my prom, and I doubt that that's what most people take away from the prom. So I'm just hoping we learn from this experience, and going forward, we get a lot more student involvement, we get a lot more help, any help. I mean, we never hear about it because it's not anything the board is involved in, correct, until there's a problem.
Right.
So I'm just hoping that we take this and use it as a teachable experience, a learnable experience, and that we go forward and start to use our students more. I mean, we've been talking about this in just about everything. We need to listen to our students. We need to know what they want. I just feel sad right now for everything that I've heard from parents, from students. I feel sad because you can't really do a lot of this. So thank you very much.
It will be a learning experience, and looking ahead, the both the assistant principal, Mr. Tobias, and the principal have been directed to monitor the planning of prom next year. That's going to be an integral part of the responsibility.
And I do have one more part to that, then, thank you for reminding me. Post-prom. What happened post-prom? Who made the decision on post-prom? Why was that made? What happened with post-prom? Those kids love post-prom. And as far as I know, we never had an issue.
Okay, and in regards to post-prom. Post-prom, basically, my parents will come to student government and will ask for a deposit. We will give students, we'll get the parents deposit, they will put the kids in their name. We will get a force to deposit that. Parents are basically responsible. Development High School. Last year, a contract was signed by the high school in regards to doing post-prom at Dave & Buster's. And we took on,
I signed it last year for this year.
not last year for last, no, it was 2016 for the 2017.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
just want to make sure.
Okay, so we were obligated to basically take on that responsibility, we were liable. So we did the permission slip, we collected the money, we did everything in regards to that. Because that's all a Crete event, we had to make sure that administrators were there, our security, of course, was there, and then, of course, the parents, they ran everything. But once it got down to the last week, and so on, it was our responsibility to stay. And I know myself, I was in security, as well as my other moderators, really took to it. So this year, or this school year, in regards to the post-prom, we explained that if we were totally, you want to do post-prom, it's totally fine. I mean, we're not necessarily against post-prom. However, we're saying from our standpoint that we're not going to take the responsibility of putting our names on a contract in regards to post-prom.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you here. Mr. Tobias told somebody directly to their face that there was going to be no post-prom because the parents didn't want it. That's what I was told by the parent. So I just want to clarify that because that's what I've been told, is that they were told we were not doing post-prom.
Mr. Tobias shared that with me today, and I can't speak for him, but I don't recall that a situation like that happening or being brought to my attention. What was failed to share was our past principal and superintendent told us that they wanted to get out of the post-prom business. Unfortunately, it was too late to get out of it last year because the contract was already signed. The reason why is because of the liability, et cetera, et cetera. So we shared I personally spoke to one parent, and she asked me about it. And I said, so this is what we can do for you at the high school. We can offer you a space to sell tickets. We'll help you advertise for post-prom. However, when it comes to securing the venue, you secure the venue, you put down the deposit, and you are liable for anything that occurs. And they said, no, thank you.
So just so I'm clear in my own mind, I guess I don't understand why we didn't tell the student body there wasn't going to be a post-prom until it was time to start doing it. If they've had post-prom for, I don't know how many years, long time, and then we decided to not do it. And the kids don't know then until it's time to pay for a ticket. So I just think, again, the lack of communication, it was, to me, it seemed very weird that all of a sudden, and I understand why we chose not to do it. I totally understand that. But again, I don't think that was conveyed. So when it was time to buy prom tickets, everybody's like, what about post-prom? And that's when it came to a head.
What I can share with that is post-prom was never advertised this year. And I totally understand what you're saying. However, we did not advertise it. So normally, because I was here last year, they sold post-prom tickets and prom tickets at the same time. There was none. You buy a prom ticket, you're gonna buy a post-prom ticket. That's not the way everything was set up this year. It was strictly a prom ticket. But I hear you, I hear you.
So you're saying that post-prom tickets were sold separately from prom tickets?
Right, because
That's
it's
not
a
the
parent.
unusual. Most schools, once you buy a prom ticket, that includes both the prom and the post-prom. That's what I'm familiar with.
I think it was like that at one point, but then we had complaints because some people
Didn't want to go, and so
they
request
want to
one
pay
to
for that, but that's not what they wanted to do after prom. Some parents were hosting parties at their house, and I just kind of felt like, why should we pay for something that we didn't want? And my experience too is post-prom has not always been popular. We had a year where a handful of kids, showed up. So it can be a little controversial in that sense of, offering something, going through all that work, and then a lot of kids don't come. It's just a, iffy situation. I understand we need to have a conversation, but I'm a little annoyed with the conversation because I just feel like it shouldn't be this complicated. It should just be prom, buy the ticket, and then the fact that we have parents doing the post-prom, that's another, thing that's thrown into it. I did hear about some parents that were upset. Ms. Ross, I think it's wonderful that you gave students. I'm all for student voice. I'm all for, getting their opinions about, what they want, and it sounds like you did that. I think the concern that what I got from parents was the amount of money that they paid for pizza. So normally when you book a venue, there's a venue price. So my only question really would be, was there a difference in the venue price? Because I think prom tickets are usually, they were $100 this year. And last year they were what? 80. So we paid a little more for a different type of meal that typically would be cheaper. So that's what I got. I don't think it was an issue that the fact that it was pizza. It was, I paid $100 for pizza and hot dogs. And so I don't know, what that is, like why was the price more for, a meal that typically should have been cheaper? And you can explain that. But that's what I was approached about, from some students and mostly parents, is that understanding.
And thank you for that. It was the amenities that we basically that happened this year. Like I said, I wish that people had saw the room. We had something called a go-go on the floor. So we had that. Last year we just had the go-go on the floor, which had people just come to such to and we had the city lights going around the room. So that of course basically costs money. This year we had the go-go, so we weren't necessarily charged to set up fee because we already had that within the system. We just changed the meter. We had the go-go on the floor as well as the lights going around the room. And this year, because of the way they wanted decorations, they wanted basically like a swag coming from the ceiling. Credit card doesn't allow things coming from the chandeliers and the ceiling. So we said, well, what can we basically do? So we had lanterns basically coming from the lanterns coming from the ceiling, and then we had the lights. The lights come in a string of 20. Those lights basically cost as well as the lanterns basically cost as well. So basically with all of the AV, that basically costs. Last year we did have a production, we did have $1 million moment. That was, of course, the photography, where they could take as many pictures as they want, and it was two photo booths in which they can utilize. One, of course, you got your pictures right away. The other one was the cloud. You can basically get your pictures downloaded to you. We had the really excellent parking. If people put on events, you get like the standard tablecloths and standard napkins that basically free. Well, the color set was chosen this year, and I basically tried to keep everything, the colors, the run we had in we had the napkins, which basically cost, the gold runners, that also cost, the one on the tables. We had the centerpieces. We had Garrett Designs that basically came in and did all the balloons for us. We had the last year's gift that the students wanted were sunglasses. This year, the students wanted a swag bag. So we went from basically sunglasses that basically cost $2,059 each to a swag bag. It was called a vintage golden swag bag for $6.09.
Do we have any other questions or comments on this off agenda item?
Students here, could they come up and speak?
Sure.
All right, hello, my name is Sierra Myrie. I am the student body president at Monee High School. I'm a senior this year. Hello, my name is Kate Happiness. I'm a sophomore at Monee High School and also the secretary of student government. Okay, so I do want to say that in my 4 years of being here at Monee High School, I have been to 10 high school dances. 8 of them being at the high school, 2 of them being at a different school. Out of my 8 high school dances here at Crete, I went to 3 proms. I went to prom my freshman year, which was held at the Shed Aquarium. I did not go my sophomore year. Junior year, I went last year, which was held at the Junior Park Convention Center. And then I went again this year, which is at the Junior Park Convention Center. I would say out of my 10 high school dances, out of my 8 high school dances here, out of my 3 proms that I've been to, the 3 that have been held by Monee High School, this prom was the best prom that I've been to. It was enjoyable, the DJ was good, the music was good. We gave the DJ, probably 6 song lists, all done by all the students. We actually had a girl that brought a list to our vice president that was on notebook paper, handwritten, all the way out, front side, looked over, fully on the back side, and a whole nother side of another piece of paper. All full of songs. We gave all of those to the DJ. It was fun. I had fun. I personally, food. I thought the food was fine. Last year prom, I had a dry piece of chicken and a whole lot of mashed potatoes because that was the only thing that I wanted to eat last year. So when I heard that we were having pizza, and we were having Italian beef sandwiches, and we were having hot dogs, and Eli's cheesecake, and this cupcake water, I was like, I'm sold. I'm fine with it. It's something that I'm going to eat, and it's something that I enjoy to eat. And then thinking about it from being president, it's something that my friends can eat. I have friends that are vegetarians, so having a pizza option was enjoyable for them because it was something that they were able to eat. Other than that, I really don't have anything to say other than that I enjoyed prom, and I thought that it was blessed. So.
Well, this was actually my first prom, and it was actually really enjoyable. I had a great time. I think everyone who wants to go to prom wants their first prom to be really enjoyable, and mine was. I actually really liked the food, and to have the opportunity to have a popcorn bar and a cheesecake bar. Most high schools don't offer that. It's offered main course and some side dishes. So I really thought it was really nice to have nice dessert. The decorations, like Ms. Ross said, they were beautiful. It was really nice. The picture bridge, and they went over great with all the students. I'm telling you right now, that $6.90 that we spent on those beds, it was 100% worth it. They're all at home, in my room, with my pictures in it. It's great.
So the bottom line is,
Thank you both.
so the bottom line is, we hear the community, we hear the board, and we'll do better.
Can I just make a suggestion? First of all, Sarah, thank you both, I'm sorry. I would love to meet you. Just keep talking. I just think it may be a matter of just kind of setting a budget. I know the kids, it sounds like they want a helicopter flying, and hours of sleep. I know their imagination, which is beautiful, but at the same time, it needs to be affordable and it needs to be something where the parents see that, money was well spent. So I would just suggest maybe setting a budget, just being mindful that, prom tickets are expensive. And that, along with all the other costs of the senior, a lot of our parents have a senior and an 8th grader. It can be, a very expensive experience. So just keeping that in mind and just making sure our parents know they're getting a lot for the money. I would like to see more communication beforehand, because I think that's where the trouble comes in, is it's that night and they're like, oh, we didn't know this or whatever. So I would like to see more communication. And I would like to commend you both for coming up here and owning it. Because what I've heard from a lot of students is the kids were getting blamed. You said you wanted this, well, how many kids said that? So there was a lot of blame just being shot out everywhere. And I appreciate the fact that both of you came up here, you owned it, you told us what happened, how it happened. And to me, that's a huge part of it. So I think that we absolutely will all learn from it. And the only thing I would like to hear next year is, woo-hoo! Thank you.
One other question. Divvy up. So at the end of the day, do we cover our costs and did we have a net profit or loss, or what was the results of the $100 per child per student?
Thank you for that. Last year, just to let you know, last year we were in the whole, we were basically $534 that was out. This year it was 1173. So in listening to, you said.
What was that last figure?
1173.
$1,173 in the hole.
So when you do prom, there is no profit being made off the prom. You basically just break even. And sitting back and reviewing a lot of things, it was basically, where we go ahead and make those cuts. And working with different venues, seeing what other venues are getting out there within the southern suburb areas. And I would like to thank some parents who did give the call, and we had very good conversations, and they gave suggestions, and just going out and just really seeing what else is out there in regards to venues, working with our vendors who are very well, working with us and see where we can, talk to them and see if we're going to be willing to use their services, like they basically cut things of that nature. So it's basically going back to the drawing board, reviewing what had basically transpired this year, so it won't basically transpire in the whole, so next year we can zero.
In many schools, either the junior or senior class sponsor the prom, and as a result of their sponsorship, they go out and do fundraising before the prom occurs, so they have X number of dollars in the bank that helps support the prom and reduce the cost of prom tickets. You might want to consider that for the future, because $100 a person, that's a lot of money. It really is.
Well, so looking at the budget from last year and what we spent this year, speaking with Ms. Ross and Mr. Tobias, there's definitely ways that we can trim the fat to make it more affordable next year. So no helicopters, swimming pools. But so yeah, like the gourmet cupcakes. They don't need gourmet cupcakes. We had Eli's cheesecake. We don't need the additional lights. We don't need the colored napkins. We don't need the colored runners. So we can have a good time and spend some money, but yet make it affordable for the family.
Thank you very much.
I just have couple of comments for you. I think you're never going to please everybody, so just do your best, okay? The only thing I remember from prom is the beautiful young lady in the blue dress that I took there. If you asked me what I ate, I couldn't tell you if my life depended on it. The devil and God were standing here. I have no clue what I ate. So I had a wonderful time. It was at the Blackstone Hotel down in Chicago, and that's all I can tell you about it. So I wouldn't get too upset about the food menu. Do your best and give the kids what they'll eat. Hopefully they'll remember the things that I remember about the fun. Have a nice day.
I have one question, Mr. Perret. Did you put me the night away?
I did everything I could do. Everything I could do. Did every 60s song and 50s song that they played.
Thank you, Ms. Ross, for all that you do with to government, and I know that this can be challenging getting that together, so thank you. I'm not sure we have an assistant, but if you do, thank you to all staff that helped with that. Thank you.
Thank you for the great explanation and coming up here. And, again, that get fine, preparing, and you guys did answer my questions that I did not ask.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to administrative updates, Mr. Harris, will you update?
Good evening. I have for you, April's FOIA report. We had 10 FOIA for the month of April. April 001, the end date and monthly pricing of your current elevator maintenance agreement, Bradley Luther. Field 410, 2018, 1 hour to complete, no documents, responsive to this request. April 002, how many SROs are employed in your school district? Provide an MOU or any agreement that you have with the police department that provides you with SROs. Michelle Wiley, Field 418, 1 hour to complete, no documents, responsive to this request. April 003, all documents related to the protocol for what happens when and after a CMSU 201 is used and identified as not in the decision of the school district. James Young, Field 417-18, 1 hour to complete. April 004, geographical breakdown of the various communities regarding the 110 residency letters sent to families of CMSU 201 students that have been returned as undelivered as reported in the previous FOIA response to the dated 6/21/18. James Young, Field 417-18, 1 hour to complete. And the response was to go back to the original wording of the FOIA to where I outlined for him information regarding those 110 residency, not residency letters, but return mail. April 005, any and all applications, including the electronic applications, e.g. Track, that is the SECO submitted for employment with your district, and any and all correspondence and or communications related to the disposition of Mrs. SECO's application, including any related emails, offers of employment, or letter of rejection. And for Fremont Shelburne, on behalf of Summer B. Stark, England, Cavalier, Jackson, and Lana LLC. This was Field 418-18, 1 hour to complete. No documents responsive to this request. April 006, copies of any and all job applications, resumes, and employment contracts from former superintendent and Fannie Cunningham. Copies of any and all disciplinary records, including but not limited to disciplinary reports, letters of reprimand, suspension notices, termination notices, resignation letters, separation agreements, investigative reports, complaints, and all other disciplinary actions of Fannie Cunningham. Meeting minutes from board meeting where Cunningham was placed on administrative leave and where the resignation was accepted. Information was sent to Zach Koski, Daily Southtown Tribune, which was Field 5118, 2 hours to complete, where he was referred to the website and questions pertaining to this and action of his FOIA request. On 5218, the request to ask for received information he could not find on the website. Information was copied from the website and sent 5318 with clarifying statements of what was not available. April 007, all emails from, to, and between, and from Assistant Superintendent of Business, CMSD 201U, and any agent representative and or employee of National Investigators Inc. between the period of September 1, 2017 through Friday, April 20, 2018. James Young, Field 5118, 1 hour to complete, no documents responsive to this request. April 008, copies of all policies, procedures, and memoranda related to the referral process of student and family names from CMSD 201U to National Investigations Inc. as agreed upon in the signed contract between both aforementioned parties dated October 2017. James Young, Field 5118, 30 minutes to complete, refer to the website that was answered in the previous quarter. April 009, all demographic information such as grade level, age, sex, race, and ethnicity of all students identified as not being a resident of CMSD 201U
who have been or are in the process of being removed from attending CMSD 201B schools. This request is in response to 50 reported public information. James Young, Field 5118, 30 minutes to complete, no documents responsive to this request. April 0110, an application and a resume for Rebecca L. Pico submitted sometime within the past 2 years. If you do not keep applications for resumes for more than a year, please indicate so. Becky Pico, Field 15118, 30 minutes to complete, no documents responsive to this request. And that concludes my full report for the month of April.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Next, we move on to the consent agenda approval. We have a motion.
I want to make a request to remove an item before we make a motion. I want to remove consent agenda item 8-B-1 approval of Press Plus issue 97 and board policy 7-53 to vote on as a separate action item. That's basically the phone policy. Right.
It's item, 51. Page 17. Page 17.
Board policy 7-53. But I got the page wrong.
You're referring to the cell phone policy?
Yes.
That is only 190.
Seven.
That's the agenda item that we asked you to vote on separately, so approval of separate substitute 7, and then part of that.
That's what I've been clearly on, it doesn't specify, it only specifies those one for policy for some reason as being separate from the flood issue. So they're all in there.
Having actually is the
Yes.
accelerated application.
So are we taking out, motions to take out all of the Press Plus 97 or just the 7-7:193?
Yeah, 7193. Oh.
So do I have an approval or do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
First, we have to move to remove the
Okay.
reword that to just say board policy 7.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
So do you have, you made the motion to accept?
That's not multiple. For discussion, right?
You got to make the motion.
After I then I make the motion to remove it, and vote on it. So,
Is there a second? Is there any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Albrecht?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Nay.
Dr. Hall? Aye. Mrs. Ruth? Aye. Mr. Touré?
aye.
Mrs. Gilbert is an aye. Motion carries.
Now can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, the regular items, except for board policy 7:113?
Second.
Mr. Pettit, can you Shirley?
The regular meeting minutes of April 17, 2018. The special meeting minutes of April 19, 2018. Special meeting closed session minutes of April 19, 2018. The special meeting minutes of April 27, 2018. Special meeting closed session minutes of April 27, 2018. The committee of the whole meeting minutes of May 8, 2018. And approval of the Illinois High School Association membership renewal for 2018-2019. Approval of Press Plus issue 97. Setting the date for 2017-2018 tentative amended budget public hearing. Do you want the business manager to approve accounts payable agenda of bills, approve payroll, approve treasurer's report?
And board policy 7.53. The CSK policy 753. Board policy 7.53. Yeah, because he only said the president.
Board policy. Under district affairs, we're approving Press Plus issue 97, plus board policy 7:193, plus board policy 7:53, which addresses the establishment of the Crete respecting magnet school policy being updated for accelerated. Yes.
I have computer issues here. I'm not finding many of the meeting minutes from May 8th online. Can I give you a page number? Because my computer just jumps all over. I can't get it to go yet. Does anybody got it on theirs? Okay, can you do that? Okay, so I guess it's not, the most it's not on the video.
It wasn't on the board, but we were, we paid for it. I'm sorry, I know we're going to.
Okay, so we have to take that out also then, right? Because we can't approve something that's not there and not correct. Okay. So do we need a separate motion for that?
I apologize. I'm sorry, I'll go with that. Let's see. So you want to approve the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of board policy 7193 and committee. So the sentence group you have to, restate that. So, because you, oh, that's you want to, you don't have
Okay, so I move to approve the consent agenda as presented with the removal of policy 7:193 and the committee of the whole meeting minutes of May 8, 2018.
Was that an amendment? Okay. Second.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, then we have a vote.
Okay, Mr. Trey?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruth? Aye. Dr. Hall? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Nay.
Mrs. Gelder is an aye, and Mr. Albert?
Aye. Okay. Next is donations. Oh, we still need to move on the set aside the action item for policy 7.4. Okay. And I have a motion to approve board policy 7.29.
We're gonna have a discussion on it or what?
You have a motion for us to discussion.
And I'll move.
Second.
Are there any questions? Discussion?
A lot of discussion on it. I think you're going down the wrong path trying to enforce this policy. And, I just heard the union chief talking about the union president about what the people who are actually going to be in charge of enforcing this policy have to think about it. And over 50% of them don't want any phones at all. And she's talked about how disruptive they are. I tend to agree with her on that. And I think you're going to have cell phone police if you're going to deal with this. I just see people allow them to use at lunchtime. They're going to sneak out with it. They're going to be walking through the halls. And if there's no consequences for the law, then I don't think they're going to adhere to it. And I see that it's written that it says there's going to be. I guess my question is who's going to enforce that? And who's going to make sure that when the teacher finds Susie or Joey with it and sends them down to the office, that the strict and swift administrative action is taken. And it's the action to change that behavior is severe enough to get their attention and not something that they're just going to blow off and continue to do it. And I just don't want to see this thing become a constant problem with the teachers, whether it be in the hallways, in the bathrooms, in the lunchroom, or in the classroom. And strict adherence, and if they don't adhere to it, then the administrator needs to be held accountable. And I don't see any language in there holding administrators accountable for making sure that they enforce this. What's the consequences to them if they don't enforce it? My opinion is rewrite this thing, no cell phones from first bell to last bell, and be done with the situation. Otherwise, you're gonna create more and more problems, and it's not gonna work. I just don't see it working. There's no cell phone police in the building.
Well, regardless of how it's written, doesn't there have to be somebody who monitors it? I mean, either way, it's going to be an issue. There's still going to have to be discipline, and still going to be enforcement, regardless of how it's written. And this way, it does say no one can do it, unless an administrator allows it. So it's up to them whether or not they allow it. But this did take up a long period.
Those exception administrators may authorize usage of electronic signaling and cellular communication devices before and after school, and during lunch periods if it is not causing a disruption to the school environment. Who's going to determine if it's a disruption? The staff member tells the students to power off their device, put it away. The student should do so immediately. Now, who's going to make that determination? Then are we going to have 14 moms and dads calling school and saying, my son or my daughter wasn't disruptive? The judgment call. What's disruptive? Is that two kids that want to eat and not be bothered with somebody on the cell phone listening to music or whatever, or watching a video? If that's disruptive, they raise their hand, they tell the lunch monitor is disrupting me, then it stops for the entire lunchroom, or they just tell that kid to put it away, and it just seems like a big domino effect to me. I'm not getting how they're going to enforce it. Too subjective. That's my thoughts on this.
I sent an email last Friday, and I did have some comments about the language that was sent to the board, because I think it was reflective of the conversation we had last Tuesday. I sent it to you, Mr. Patton and Jennifer. However, they did get a response. I have an issue with the language not being reflective of that meeting and the board not being informed of that. So I wanted to know, how did this new language come about? Because if we make a decision with direct administration and we're expecting that's what's going to be presented to be voted on, now the language has changed. Me as a board member, I don't know anything about that. So I have an issue with that, so I'd like to know how is it.
I can answer that. So I was given a directive, to poll all of the administrators once again to find out what they wanted in terms of this language, and I was also instructed to look at other policies in other districts. And so that's something that would be responsive to what I received in terms of what was discussed in the committee as a whole, and what I received from polling all administrators once again. I did that. I sat down with Mrs. Gabbard. We had some discussions. We had some similar concerns, but we put together what we thought was reflective of everything that I received after the interview. And this is how it came about. And then we sent that information to the Board of Education via email, and also had it placed on board for discussion and feedback. And I didn't receive, I received something from 2 people prior to tonight.
Okay, prior to the interim superintendent and the board president, because I need an understanding of what transpired. So when you say you received a directive to poll administration,
Yeah, so, Mrs. Gasker wanted to know what the building principals, assistant principals, things and whatnot felt about, removing, the language that was currently in the policy about the lunch hours before and after school using the devices. All of the administrators at the elementary level, all the administrators at the middle school level said, no, we don't want them using, their cell phones during lunch hours at all. We get it. They're going to use it before and after school. You really can't control what they do before they walk in the door and after school is over. They understand that. The high school, however, felt that kids needed more, just needed more during lunch hours. They felt that they would be able to control this. They have some things in place in terms of teaching the expected behaviors, and just felt like they should be allowed to use them during their individual lunch hours. So this was only at the high school level. So hearing that you couldn't create a policy that said no audience, I just wrote it to say it's up to the administration, because at this point, there's, without the board saying yes or no, there is no way for me to write this policy.
okay, I understand that. So I wasn't a part of the directive that you were given by Mr. Gasparo, so that's the problem I have issue with. Because I feel like if the board came to a consensus about something, that should have been communicated to the board. Had that been the text directive given, and as a board member, I'm going to record saying I'm upset about that because I was left out. I left that meeting thinking we have decided what we were going to bring to the board for approval today. And as board members, we should be informed of any change. And like I said, I sent that email, I did not receive a response, so I came here today to ask about it. So thank you for giving clarity. In my email that I sent, I shared that I had done some research and looking particularly at high school. A lot of the surrounding high schools are allowing lunch. Some are allowing them with no restriction. Some are allowing them all places except classrooms. If we were to stop that, particularly in the high school level, we would definitely be archaic in our approach. I can understand it a little bit more in the lower levels, middle school, elementary school. But as far as high school, like we just saw, we have great kids. They're older. I believe for the most part, our children make great decisions, particularly in high school. We're trying to bring them into adulthood, and that means teaching behavior and allowing certain things to take place. I don't know if we can do separate policies for the high school and separate for elementary and middle school. But I don't think that we need to restrict it to the point, particularly for high school students, where they're being looked at as if they can't make the right decisions, and we're punishing the entire student body for the actions of students that may not follow the rules. So that's my thought.
So one of the reasons that I wrote the exception, because it will allow the building principal, which
you know, I can say this is what they say, but, this is what they also want. They want their students to be able to use it during those lunch hours and before and after school. So by putting the exception in there, it puts it back to the administrators by giving them that autonomy to make that choice. So at the elementary and middle school level, they don't want it, that's the choice that they make. And they normally do like a little student handbook that reflects the, code of conduct that we use anyway. So like the code of conduct is an umbrella, and then they write their own little student handbook to give out to them. So they'll be able to say, no cell phone usage, you know, during the lunch hour, so we understand before and after school. And then how you can write there to say everything.
So this is the handbook.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I'm concerned, because if a policy should be a policy, there's a gray area in there, and anyway, it can be interpreted a certain way. But if it's the same, then you can add to that, refer to the student handbook for specific, you know, procedures or whatever. So thanks for explaining, I understand. Okay.
I'm just gonna add to that, I think that the emphasis is on the wrong things. I think the emphasis needs to be on the educators and what's gonna provide them the atmosphere that they can teach our children the best. And, you know, and we're not supporting it if we allow these phones. They're gonna just be playing phone police forever, and, you know, we've got a lot of wonderful teachers that we need to support at all levels, and I think, they're telling us they don't want this, and we're gonna turn around and tell them, we think it's better, and the students are gonna behave, and, you know, between 14 and 18, you know, I raised four kids. You know, their judgment is good at times, and other times their judgment is worth the nickel. So, you know, I'm not going to even get into that discussion. You know, kids are kids, and adults, I think we need to provide them the atmosphere that they can learn the best in. If the consensus was what we heard was that they don't want the phones. That's the end of all I'm going to say to you guys. You know, the majority rules here, and but I think the thing is not workable the way it is.
That would be clear also on the classroom usage, so other than, like, a teacher cannot authorize students to.
The teacher would have to go to the building administrator. So let's say, for instance, because we talked about this too, you have someone in a math class that is doing, you know, I'm going to say something totally calculus, and they're allowing them to use their cell phones as the calculator for this particular lesson. That teacher will have to go to administration to get that approved. They just cannot say, okay, take out the cell phone. Because in the way that I see it unfolding is that something would be going home to the parents, letting them know on this particular day, this is the lesson that's being taught in this particular class, and only where they will be allowed to use this. And once again, like I said, I don't want to speak for high school, but they do have all of this written out as to how they're going to approach this with the students and with the parents.
And I'm thinking, I know that some kids that don't take notes, they will take a picture of the notes, instead of handwriting them. I mean, they're being used in you know, acceptable ways in the classroom. So it's this, whatever flexibility is being offered, this is going to be communicated to the teachers.
Yes, but I just want to be clear, it has to be at the approval of administration.
I have a question. This policy was here last year, but it's been, you set aside this exception that administrators can allow this during the lecture. Set that aside. The additional language will address is headphones, earbuds, that essentially the same policy. So in the policy, the way that I read it was that cell phones are not allowed in school, but it doesn't seem that that was enforced. So what's going to change, if nothing else changed, what would change such that the policy would be enforced the way it exists?
I understand that.
If you read the existing policy, it essentially says students are not permitted to use any devices defined in this paragraph and student instances during this grade session. That's not being enforced now.
Right.
So I guess my question is not so much about the policy changes here, what are we as a board and as administrators going to do? We can change this policy all we want. We don't have to go to enforce it as is. Pointless.
I agree with you. One of the things that came up in the discussion, and I understand what you're saying about the additional information, that was a concern to them because it was not addressed previously. And I think before they were able to get a handle on it, they were seeing more and more kids that they helped get on, listen to the music and doing all those things. And it just got out of control before they were even able to put a handle on it. This year, from my understanding, they're going to be teaching it from day one. We have a plan as to how it's going to go out to the parents, to the students, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, lessons. And I've seen some of the information that has gone between the administrators on how they're going to enforce it. Their concern is they want to enforce this policy and still allow students to have a little leeway. They want to make sure that when they do enforce it, when they are not obeying this particular policy or rule that they have in place, that the Board of Education supports it.
That is absolutely key. First of all, the building principals must hold the teachers accountable, and they must be held accountable by the superintendents and district office folks. But beyond that, when there's pushback from parents or students, then the board has to stand firm too. And that's absolutely essential. No policy is going to be effective in promoting the kind of schools that you want unless the board will stand behind superintendent, building principals, they in turn will hold their people accountable. It's the only way it's going to work. Plain and simple.
So Dr. Clark, if I understand you correctly, when you poll building administrators, you essentially, buildings K through 8 would not allow this exception for lunchtime. It'd be no cell phones from when the bell rings in the morning to when the bell rings in the afternoon.
That's
And
correct.
that's how they would enforce this policy.
That is correct.
And this exception really applies to allow the high school administrators who felt there was something to provide some flexibility. Is that correct?
That's correct. And for clarity, cell phones were allowed to be prior to this. They building their own restrictions during the class. So they were allowed to watch periods and all of that, to have cell phone usage. This is added language that prevents that. Correct. And like I said, before we went through something similar with this, going from allowing and then restricting, and we went through a period of over 300 infractions in 1 month regarding. So I think it would be essential, first of all, to get clarity. This is effective next school year. Correct. Correct. So I think the way you all kind of rolled out the timeline, I think will be helpful, at least to start in 8th year with, something different. Last year, last time when we had a major issue in February, trying to enforce it, then it was, really difficult. But I personally think it should be the teacher's discretion in the classroom. I think that they know their students best, they know if they're using it appropriately or not. I think why we have seen usage in the classroom, regardless of the policy, is because it just has been difficult to enforce. Period. And we do have some teachers that allow it as long as you're not disruptive, as long as you're not doing something inappropriate. So we'll see how it works.
Just asking one question on that. Just to make sure, you were asking for clarity, you said,
and they were allowed to use the drink as whatever is not. But actually, the policy does read during those periods of time when classes are in session. That's why the residents added to spell it all out, because it not, didn't mean just when they were in session, but it was when the classes were in session, correct? Did I read that correctly? That's how, it was, I mean, that's what it was supposed to be.
No, the interpretation was not in class. It could not be used. They were using them in lunch, in passing periods, but like have the kids walking with the ear.
Right, but this does say when classes are in session, not when you're in class, so that's why.
So that's what I'm saying. The
Right.
interpretation of it, when you say the classes are in session, basically when I'm sitting in class. And that's how we dealt with the overall interpretation, because it would not be.
Right, and it's still there.
Because the kids were allowed, you know, they were in lunch, I've seen using them, I've sitting in the hall, they're walking, listening, you know, to ear, whatever. I think there have been challenges with, you know, telling them to remove the headphones before they come to the classroom, but I haven't heard of a major issue with making a kid probably since that major issue a few years ago. I think we had some kids that had, got in trouble because they just refused, but that was some years ago. They just decided, but the kids and those that are following the policy, they have to deal with the consequences.
And I would just add that this is one of the reasons the new language is added, is because we do need to be clear about what we're asking them to abide by.
And when you say the new language, the passengers, why the rest of the why we're not necessarily that we calls turn tests on waiting in those sections, administrative offices, social worker offices, counsel's offices, and stuff. So it's a clarifying language. Be more specific if it's not just when classes in session.
Yes, we want everyone to understand, the only time that you're gonna be permitted at the high school to use your cell phone is what is written in this description, and unless you come to the administrator to ask for permission.
So when the bell rings in the morning, it's turned off.
Or put away somewhere, yes.
And then if we turn it back on at the end of the day when the bell rings.
Or K in general, yes.
In general.
Okay.
That's right. And then we're providing some exculpatory language for an exception, with the administrators only, to make it all at high school level.
That is correct.
And I'm going to discuss it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like this now.
It's the first step we agree on. I know.
And I might even go a little deeper. Again, we went around with this, around with this a couple years ago, and I feel even probably stronger. Again, this does impact the learning of our kids, taught by our teachers, and this is just one battle, and they do not need to fight. So many other issues going on out there on a day-to-day basis at school. And I can understand parents, especially with kids, and communication goes forward with their kids, but I think at the end of the day, when nothing is done, I would say no fault, period. Not even on the property, that's how far I'll go. I know people out there, probably just saying, get that guy off the board, get him off quick. But that's how I feel. I feel strongly about what this phone has done in a negative way, yeah. Phone has been used in a positive way, but when you look at the big picture, these phones are negatively impacting the learning of our kids. I had someone said, where's the proof? Like, how do you find?
Are there any other comments, questions? Do we have a motion on the floor to approve this as written? That's correct. If you have questions?
Mr. Torre,
No.
Mrs. Ruth, aye. Dr. Hall, nay. Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown,
Nay.
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mrs. Gallagher is a nay.
May I have clarification, please? What is the pleasure of the board at this point? For this policy? So we table it until the next committee of the whole?
That's what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you.
And to be honest with you, in that time frame, it would be nice if the board members would maybe take this, see what they think. If what wording would make them happy, I know what wording makes me happy. You all know what wording makes me happy. You know? So, we're not doing this by ourselves, and that was made perfectly clear when we took on this whole policy. So I'm asking you, if you're sending this, please include me, because I did not see her, you know, and I left the meeting last week, so I didn't know what consensus was. So I'm not making an excuse, I'm just saying I agree with you. I think we all, this is very important, and we all need to be a part of this and all be in agreement, because if we're not, it isn't going to. That's all I have to say. No matter what you do, it's not going to.
And can I suggest, I know you guys gave the administrators, but, you know, this might be something we need to put out to all stakeholders. It's going to affect so many people. When I think about a lot of our kids, when they're using phones, are talking to them. For whatever reason, you know, something's going on or whatever. So it's a restriction that doesn't just affect the students, is basically what I'm saying. So I think maybe we need to just gauge everybody. How do we feel about cell phone usage? And then at least from there, we can make, you know, an informed decision. Because I know how to feel as a parent, I know how to feel as a board member, and I'm one of thousands. So I think that's probably something we need to consider.
Like I said, I don't think we need to send it out to the kids. I don't know what the answer to that is. You know, adults, I would agree with you.
I already got.
Children know that.
I did, that was the first thing I did.
Second one.
Yeah, pretty. Okay, next we have donations. First donation is letters to Cindy Westerman, Crete Women's Club. Dear Mrs. Westerman, thank you very much for the donation of a field trip bus for the Peter Pan performance at Governor State University. Our fourth grade students attended the morning performance at GSU on May 2nd and had a wonderful time. Again, thank you for your generosity in being a supportive friend to our school. You provided a great opportunity for the students to experience the theater and attend Peter Pan play. Sincerely, Aaron and Principal. Next, is addressed to Mr. Martin Ozinga III of Ozinga Concrete. Dear Mr. Ozinga, I wanted to reach out to you and thank you for your generous donation of $2,000 for Coretta Scott King Magnet Schools United for Puerto Rico Fund. Your entire corporate gift will be sent to assist those individuals who were impacted by last year's hurricane. This donation not only assists our global community, but shows our students that by working together with our local corporate partners, we can make an impact on the lives of others. On behalf of the students, faculty, staff, and parents of Coretta Scott King Magnet School, please accept our deepest gratitude. Sincerely, Brian Main, Principal. We have addressed to Mr. Steve Portello, Principal, Marion Catholic High School. Dear Mr. Porterello, I wanted to reach out to you and thank you for the generous donation of 10 tickets to the WWE Pro Wrestling Show at Marion Catholic High School. We distributed the tickets to some of our biggest WWE student fans, and we're sure a good time will be had by all. On behalf of students, faculty, staff, and parents, Coretta Scott King Magnet School, please accept our deepest gratitude for your generous gift. Sincerely, Michael. And I have one other that was given to me by Terry tonight. This is addressing CM201 Board of Education. Thank you so very much for your generosity and support of my involvement in the Illinois High School Theater Festival, nationally selected all-state musical, Big Fish. It has been an honor to represent the Crete High School theater program and CM201 years ahead. While I am the second student in Crete to be cast in the IHSTF all-state production, I'm thrilled to be the first testing student to represent this high school program on the national level. 345 students from across the state auditioned, interviewed, and the final company consisted of 107 testing students. This company represents 57 schools across the state of Illinois, and again, I am grateful to be a Crete representative. My involvement in Big Fish musical has been nothing short of incredible, and it truly is the gift that keeps on giving. We are making history as the first ever Illinois all-state production to be selected for the International Best Game Festival, also known as the Theater Nationals in Nebraska. We received 58 superior, that's perfect, and 5 excellent, near perfect scores, and we're so proud of what we've accomplished. Having supported my theater director, Mr. Gary Dorsey, the Board of Education, means so much to me. Thank you so very much for your continued support of myself as well as the arts in our school. It is so important, and I wouldn't be where I am today, an enrolled student in the Wharton University BFA musical theater program without the exposure and experiences I've gained with the arts in my time in the Crete District. With sincere gratitude, Stephen Fletcher.
And just a note, he is still accepting donations through mid-June. So some people have contacted him, but he doesn't have a way to get back to them. He doesn't know how. So if you know somebody who reached out to him, I believe it's like the 18th of June or something, you can take donations. So if somebody asks you. And Mr. Dorsey, I think, would help them get those to him if you can't get to them himself. I think Mr. Dorsey would be happy to see his field in your life.
Well, I can also, because I took a couple of checks over to his cousin who happens to teach at Monee Elementary.
Oh,
And
okay.
she got it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, next we have action reports.
You said that you can pay, you know? So you say you can pay for donation, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, just an FYI, no cash. Tax.
They get out, the Illinois Theater Association.
Or ITA, you don't want to let it have to do. I would put it in the memo.
Theater 20. You know, the key is this day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to pay.
Okay.
See that client? Yeah.
Illinois Theater Association.
You can do ITA also.
Okay, action reports. Superintendent,
Motion to approve 2018-2019 Board of Education meeting dates.
do I have a motion?
Second.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Dr. Hall. Aye. Mrs. Ruth. Aye. Mr. Terrain.
Aye.
Mrs. Gilbert is an aye. Mr. Albert.
Aye.
Motion to approve large unit district association membership for 2018-2019.
We have a motion. Second. Any questions, comments?
I just have a question. I think, we had a board representative. Mr. Pat, don't
I
you
can't hear you.
doesn't or maybe Carrie can answer. Don't we have a legal representative on the school board, or they ask for, or whatever?
Hearing no other questions, we.
Mr. Robert,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mrs. Ruth,
Aye.
Mr. Gray,
Nay.
Mrs. Young.
Motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Board membership for 2018-2019.
So, second.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Gray,
Nay.
Mrs. Ruth,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Young, Mr. Robert.
Aye. Next action, reports curriculum.
Okay, who did that first?
No. Motion didn't pass.
That's my work. Here, Laura, I'll use this one.
Now I will not. Would you let me? So, this is the request to approve the Title I plan for the upcoming school year. Under ESSA, all school districts in Illinois are now required to submit a yearly district Title I plan. And when we submit the plan now, we either have to say that we're just submitting the plan that's, of the original plan, which was approved last year, or we're submitting the plan with changes and amendments. Our plan is being amended because we want to start the process of designating our current non-Title I schools as Title I schools for the upcoming school year. So we included information in there to kind of help that process along. And once this plan is submitted, then those schools who we would like to become Title I schools next year will submit their school-wide plans in June for the board to approve. I know that everyone here has read that plan in great detail that I gave you with all my highlighting, but I did want to let you know that we have a summary of it on page 161 of the packet. It's actually part of the plan, but for our public, I thought I'd just go through the additions to the plan. So the plan is being amended to include the following: information about Early Learning Center, CSK, specifically the IB program. More specific information about the academic program at Crete Monee High School and Monee Education Center. Our assessments that we're using for our 3K program, and information about our local work model that we use. Programming for at-risk students at the Early Learning Center, Crete Monee High School and Monee Education Center. The technology that we have at the Early Learning Center. A district focus on diversity, cultural responsiveness, and restorative practices. A general description for school-wide programming for ELC and for our high school students. We have also included goals for freshmen on track to graduate and our graduation rate for 3 years down the road. The addition of a step-up day for our 8th and 9th grade transition, and also inclusion of information related to career technical education and work-based learning opportunities, which we talked about earlier in the manufacturing program. We also have the updated consultation data where all of the new information is presented to various users and districts to make sure we include that today. So tonight I'm asking the board to approve the amended plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor? I have a motion. Are there any questions? Hearing none.
Mr. Correa? Oops. Mrs. Ruth?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
No further testimony, Mr. Novak?
Aye.
I did ask him to do anything.
Sorry. I was doing it. Yes.
Next. Next, Mr. Sherman, business.
Thank you. The first item on the business agenda is the approval of the fiscal year 17 audit. Last week at the committee of the whole, the auditor was present to present the audit. It begins on page 178 of the packets. Included in there, as the auditor pointed out, were 5 findings. Those findings you'll see starting on page 401. Each finding has its own action plan and completion dates and all of that, which is something the board had asked about. So those are located in there. Of the 5 findings, 2 have been corrected already, so those are already done. The other 3 will be corrected with the hiring of a new accounts payable grant person that we're in the process of interviewing for on Monday. So we take it is, it's a grant person for the current grants that we have to make sure they're filed appropriately and expenditure on file. It's not a person that will want to seek money. This is the person, so I have a payroll person that is retiring in my department. The current accounts payable person, we moved over to that area, and then I'm adjusting responsibilities for accounts payable, making those more efficient and making some duties to oversee the grants that are going on now. So it's not any additional FTE at all.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Did you say page 401? And this is what 8? 37.
Page 178 begins the report, the board report on the audit. Page 401 begins the findings.
That's 401. I was trying to find.
Oh, you know what, my comments. You're right. I wrote down the wrong number. I'm reading the wrong.
Click the local assignments.
It is on page 344. You see the first one, and then the next 4 follow.
And you said that they've all been addressed.
Yes, they've all been addressed. 1 and 2 have been corrected, so they're done. 3, 4, and 5 will be addressed as the hiring of the accounts payable / grant administrator.
No, we don't have it. Yeah, we should have a motion first.
No.
That's all we need.
For your office, time and plans.
You don't have to, but it's not going to follow the right. Okay. You don't have a motion. I don't have any questions.
Are we still in discussion?
Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 17 audit?
Move it.
Second.
Are there any questions?
I do know. One of the suggestions for the for operations was can completely be really on the assistant superintendent of credit. And they suggested that we lower that, but we didn't really talk about that. So that's something that we are going to. And it's so, what was that?
I can't remember the other one. I think they just observed that it was kind of high.
I'm sure, you want to get with the things up? I don't know, I think this, you have to do, right, to do that.
I was trying to find it, and for things that.
That was a recommendation.
Yeah, it said that, we look into the standard, ours was, actually, they're very high, and it suggested, bringing it down, not because of any wrongdoing, but to prevent certain things, so if you have a higher, allowance, and you have the wrong person in the seat, that it, cause an issue. So I wanted to know if I was going to increase that.
How much is the current limit?
I was just saying that, I really don't know the answer to
It's in
that.
the final,
I believe,
it's in the recommendation.
I believe the recommendation was to have a conduct a review of the limits for all the credit cards. And perhaps we can do that and have it presented to the.
When I do that, I'll bring all, whoever has a new card and what the limits are and all of that, and then I'll bring that to the whole peer review and we can take any suggestions.
How do you feel about this new firm? Are you comfortable, professionalism?
I am, I'm very comfortable with them, I was very pleased with what they did. It took a while, I understand that, but again, they're a new firm, they came in, did a lot more work. I was very pleased with them, and it was very easy to work with them, so I was very pleased with them.
Okay, good.
And this is fiscal year 2017. We are.
We're using the same firm, we've already scheduled them, they're coming in the last week of June to do some of their field work, we've already given them some prep work. They've asked for some files already, so we've already passed that along with them. My goal is to have the audit done probably by December 1st, to the board for approval in December.
When do we take our next snapshot?
Sure. I can give you those in June, the committee of the whole, I can take a look at those. I don't normally look at those as I go forward. I mean, that's what the auditor does, it's not crossing our radar. But I can use it to, before you bring that, they can use it for
Okay, that's snapshot. For our recognition for 2018,
yes.
the doors closed on June 30th, right?
Yes,
It looks at our finance at that point, right?
it will based on when our audit is completed, yes. It doesn't look at it right then because it looks at it from the audit, yes, but that ends, for the fiscal year, that ends June 30th.
Like that did sometime in February.
Yes, yes.
So if we had it by December.
We will have it way, done way before that
Well,
already.
there's had to drop, then eight. Us as a state,
Right, that's usually February, the end of February.
in February.
Is when they compile their list and they put the watch list together.
Okay. Now, by the same token, again, one other thing, to use an example of
Sure.
having cash on hand 6 months. Remember one time you came up $1 or $2 short to have a pour in that category, and that affected our whole profile.
Yes,
So it just behooves us to look at things right now and not get caught
it is.
in such a position, having a couple dollars that
Right.
we can't cash on hand, that we could whole financial profile.
Right, so on June 15th, that meeting, we will share the cash flow analysis for us.
Okay.
And projection for the next year to see where we're at on cash flow.
Okay. So are we looking to expand guidance, so to speak, for our middle school. Expenditures yet to be paid out for our middle school. We're looking to do that prior to this fiscal year.
We may, I don't know that yet. We're in negotiations right now. Our attorney's in negotiation.
What is it to negotiate?
Well, there are some liquidated damages that are being talked about. There are also still some projects that are not done, and we're negotiating the cost of those. We have what the cost of those, to hold back some money in order to get some of those things done.
Perhaps we can bring this up in old business.
I can, sure,
Yeah, we move forward.
sure.
I saw the opportunity to bring that up.
Yep,
Part of this.
sure.
You know,
Let's talk about how the business, I'll give you a view where we're at.
Great.
Okay? Sure.
Page 399 has some previous information.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
They review all of them, that they're all.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions regarding the approval of fiscal year 17 audit? Nothing been put.
Right?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruth? Aye. Dr. Hall? Aye. Brown?
Present.
Mr. Albrecht?
Aye. Number 2 on business.
The approval of the purchase of video surveillance equipment and installation in all schools. That's where page 401 comes into play. So if you remember back to the whole, I talked about spending approximately $150,000 for video surveillance equipment at all of our schools. At our elementaries, we provide video surveillance on all the exterior parts of our building. It would also include putting cameras in the interior of our middle school throughout, and then the upgrades to some of the cameras in our high school. I've attached also all the quotes that are there for the vendor. As Mr. Brown and I have talked about it in the whole, falls under technology, so it is an exception to having to go out to bid on this. Plus, the vendor has done the same work at the high school, so it keeps all of our equipment consistent in that. I'm comfortable with their work and the work that they've already done in that district.
Those that take the camera, non-building.
For the interior, it's just placing cameras in the interior of the middle school and upgrading some of the cameras that are now, that are currently in the school. The other schools are getting cameras on the exterior of the building, entrances, parking lots, and that. Just because of the expense of trying to do that. It is not putting cameras inside the classroom or that, of course, in the private area. But mostly, I think you'll see also on the middle school floors, there's an attachment that shows kind of around.
Are you kidding?
No, they're not. No, they did not. So.
And also, with these installations, are we, or in general, are we having in some type of schedule of maintaining, the cameras and making sure they're working?
Right, so they'll be put together a preventive maintenance plan as we start doing a lot of these projects so that, we can look down the road and see. In fact, keep an eye just today, have a webinar, a conversation in school that we use that has preventive maintenance and capital forecast module that we're looking at.
So is it fair to say that we as a district do not know the full status as far as operability is concerned of our campus, all of our campus? Do we know the effectiveness of all our, we say for sure they work, or we just
I would say not all of them. Well, I'll give you one perfect example, that there were cameras that were on the middle school project that are installed properly on Berkeley project.
We have an update on
We're going to talk about that on the way.
I have no idea if we still have that.
And who's gonna, what's the routine on, the ones you're gonna put for the exterior? Is somebody gonna be regular crew chief to look at this footage every day? Or is it only gonna be monitored if there's vandalism or something, or an incident outside the building?
No, part of the project would be putting monitors in each of the buildings also, so that the staff, whether it be the principal, secretary, assistant principal, dean, can monitor that. Also, in the case of the vandalism or an incident happening, one of the things we're also doing is having Dr. Clark have access to all of those remote office remotely. So that's also going to be part of it too.
Okay, because I would suspect, you know, during the night is when you can probably get the most transmission.
Sure.
You know, there's not going to be anybody in the building monitoring.
Right.
It's, these things keep the recording for ever or how long?
No, usually it's about 28 days is when the recordings are, you know, depending on the number of cameras that you have going, and also depending on the size of the hardware that you have, it's usually about 28 days.
Tina, where does security fall?
I think it's a combination of both. Dr. Clark really monitors the security part of it, and I do the finance part of it. So it really falls into both.
Or probably would agree with you that we need to know the effectiveness of our. I don't think we know that. And I think that the board would say that we need a plan from you guys to let us know at what point you're going to have effective cameras out there. And
If you can wrap it, sure, if you can just give me what you mean by effective camera.
cameras that work.
Okay.
They're doing what they want them to do. You know, we turn them on, we want to capture, go back and look at some video, we can see it. As opposed to being fuzzy or not there or whatever.
Well, I think that's one of the purposes of this plan, is to put in effective cameras. I'll give you guys for example, some of them will flip out, and we're HD cameras, some are not, some are analog cameras, so you get a fuzzy green look. Do they work? Yeah, they work. Are they effective? I don't think they're effective though. And that,
They don't work for me.
well, yeah,
They can't
but
see
that's,
it.
but again, that's what this plan does. What this plan does is bring those HD cameras in, work technology in it, so they are effective, and that when there is an incident, it's a lot easier for people to make out who people are. You know, the same thing when, I looked and sat down, and, you know, Dr. Clark and I sat down and looked about security at the elementary schools. I think we would love to have cameras throughout all of our buildings, interior and exterior, and affordability is an issue there. And we also think most of the incidents happen within the building and those locations. So that's why cleaning and the interior of the school, each will become effective because they're not there now.
Just make sure that we have at least what we have works.
I agree.
Might be time to read through the thing. Are there any other questions regarding, we still need a motion, right, sir? Okay. I have a motion to approve the purchase of video surveillance equipment and installation for all schools. Second. Are there any other questions? Hearing none? Aye.
Aye. Mrs. Ruth? Aye. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mrs.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The next item on the agenda is the approval of copier paper. You'll see the bid results that are there. We did have a sealed bid for this. We did get 2 respondents for it. We are recommending that Verita Operating Company be awarded the bid for paper. The bid and the price does include all delivery and bringing the paper into the building. As I mentioned at the beginning of the poll, there will be 3 deliveries throughout the year that will assist in this going.
Can I have a motion to approve the copy paper purchase for fiscal year 19? Are there any questions?
Which one did you say again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it is Verita.
How much was this?
The total item was $86,997.50. They were the low bid. They're our same, they're the same vendor that we get paper from this year also.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Not, can we take a vote?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Paul? Aye. Mrs. Brooks? Aye. Mr. Correa?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The next item for approval is copier lease and maintenance agreement. Begins on page 427 of your packet. This will be the replacement of new machines for all the copiers in all the schools. As you'll see on the board report, we had 8 proposals that were submitted. Our recommendation is to award the lease and maintenance agreement to ImageTech. By doing so, we would save approximately $70,000 a year between the lease and the maintenance agreement. I'm recommending that we do a 4-year lease and maintenance agreement. The good thing about the agreement that we have, and one of the conditions I worked out with ImageTech is that each year we would review the amount of copies we have, and we have to adjust the maintenance agreement, hopefully lower it. We will do so. And that's part of the contract.
I just have one question. That's all my neighbors have. Do they come regularly to check the machine? Like, is there a schedule where they come out, or do they wait for us to call?
There's a couple things with the maintenance agreement. One is, yes, there's regular time where they will come out and service the machines. But the second part of it, what some of the new technologies that, so on toner, when the toner gets to 20%, instead of it going out, it'll actually notify the company, don't automatically send one to us. So you don't have to notify them anymore, the secretary. So those are the type of things that we're going to put into this that'll help from the efficiency. That's all included, yes. Yep. Yes.
Are we gonna have training for the operators of those machines, teachers and so forth?
Yes, the part of the agreement is for them to come on site at the beginning of the school year, in all of our buildings to talk to the secretaries and the teaching staff. So they will be there for a day, 2 days, whatever it takes, in order to train them appropriately.
What they say the response time was kind of one of these workers.
I don't know, Andy? We have Andy Harris here, who's actually the representative from IMSEC about the response time on a service call.
If you could come down and mic, because we are on video, and so public can hear.
Sorry for trying to spot you.
Thank you. I'm Andy O'Hara. I'm the county executive with ImageTech. It's responsible for Crete, Monee regarding response time. We run right around 24 hours. That's really good.
What do you guys know?
At 4:30, are you there that day or is it the next morning?
At 4:30, we'd be out there next, so usually the calls,
Just put it.
yeah, but that lady will be one of the next.
Where are you guys coming out?
Our office, the closest office I'm here right now is in Naperville. We are opening an office in Austin. But the technicians carry their contracts with them all the time, so they're pretty much in the field. And 3 of our guys, 2 of which would be most likely assigned here, one of them is in Buck Forest, and it really makes it much. So that helps, logistically.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, don't go away yet. Don't go away. You may be needing for this next question. Okay, so the present machines that we have, we basically own these machines for $1, right?
Yes.
Okay, part of this package deal that we may not go on say in favor for you guys to get the contract is that the purchase price include the salvageable value, I guess, of the machines that we presently have. Okay, phrase that right.
That's right.
So where did the deal come from? I mean, where did the savings come from? Basically saying our machines are worth nothing much. Do we really gain by trading in our machines? We get new machines that we really gain a lot there.
I think Andy can talk about what really our machines are worth. I mean,
I can guarantee you they are worth more than $1. Okay.
They're
Could you repeat what you just said there? What did you do?
I mean, very good. Most equipment's 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. It's been used, doing its power problems. And the issue here is that when these old units do come out, we do provide the district a certificate of contract destruction, so that you know that the hard drives are on the claim, and then the equipment is picked up and removed by our team. Thereby, no additional expense for your guys.
I will share this with the board. This is the 4th, I think the 4th copier lease agreement I've done. In every one, I've not gotten any value on the machines that we have owned. I will tell you that straight out, there is very little value. Yeah, it's amazing, you know, but they are, and that's very true, they are taking the death and you know, parts are salvage, it's nothing.
Thank you. For telling me that our machines are worthless.
But our employees are priced.
Yes, can I get a motion to approve approval of copier leasing instrument?
Second?
Are there any further questions?
Can we, just, what's the total price? 200, what is it? Am I reading this right, 255 grand?
Annual expenditure is $221,472 for leasing payments agreements. Yes.
So this is a 4-year deal,
Yes,
so we're at $1 million, right?
right. For that lease, that price of 221 is $70,000 less than what we're currently paying per year.
But it's just astonishing, we're gonna spend $1 million, and at the end of the 4 years, this machines are gonna be worth $0.
True.
That's what we're saying. What a deal. It's incredible.
We could all live in Belmont.
Okay. Well, my car, something.
Okay, are there any other questions? Not, I'm good. Have a vote. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Okay. Now to the green line. Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Hall?
Mrs. Fruit?
Aye.
Mr. Trey?
I'm sorry, I can't vote for this, no.
Mrs. Galvin, Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The last item on the business agenda is the approval of the medical and dental insurance rates for fiscal year 19. As you will see, and I shared with the board during the committee of the whole, there is no increase in the insurance rates and the health insurance rate, both the PPO and HMO. However, there is a slight increase in the dental rates, approximately 4% when it comes to the employee plus one family. In fact, if you kind of like look at the calculations, there is a slight reduction in some rates, just because it's over 12 months and the number of payments in that in previous paycheck. So I do want to commend and thank the insurance committee, of which both of our unions are a part of, that Lyle and I both work with, and also Vista National, as we have implemented some things and have done some cost savings. I also like to thank Cheryl and Janine for serving on that committee. It's become a great working committee, and it's worked quite honestly the right way. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate the work.
Just want to point one thing out on that committee. I think we've all learned how to deal with each other. This is a good relationship. But I do want to point out one thing that we chose to do last year that I believe from talking to this can make a big difference in being able to keep our rates down, and that was 1-800-MD. They gave us statistics on people calling there. We've got stories from cabinet members and members of the community and just people in general saying that it was a lifesaver when their baby had a fever at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're holding somebody at that hour and giving a baby. And by not going to the emergency room, that really kept the rates down, and that was one of the big selling points when we were talking about it last year. Do we or don't we? And my opinion made a huge positive vote on that, and people are very, very happy with it. So I do want to point out that sometimes we take a gamble, and this time it was really a good thing, and we didn't have to worry about getting out of it. So there was a lot of concern on the committee, and it wasn't going to work. Mrs. Hirsch, I'm going to call you up. You were one of the first people to use it and let us know immediately that it worked well for, you didn't have to be off your sick bed, the doctor was good. They were very professional. So once the information started rolling, we kept promoting it to the employees and reminding them that it was out there. And many people used it. I think this is so new, so you did. Yes, I did. That was good. I have another story for another time. Okay. All right. I called the wrong number. That's okay. You learned how to use it. I did. It had nothing to do with service. No, it did not. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Can I get a motion to approve the medical and dental insurance?
Move.
We're going to separate that. Ready this one?
Are there any other questions?
I have just one question. What about the vision? Is there any vision? Missed that.
There is vision. It is voluntary vision that we do have through IPAD. We are on a rate guarantee with them, I believe. Yes, we are on a 3-year, I think a 3-year rate guarantee, so there's no change in the rates.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Any other questions? No, we'll move to a vote.
Mrs. Ruth? Aye. Dr. Hall? Aye.
Present.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Robert?
Aye. Okay, human resources. I have a motion to approve certified staff employment, certified staff reassignment, certified staff leave of absence, certified staff return from leave of absence, certified staff resignation, certified staff intent to retire, temporary educational support staff employment, educational support staff reassignment, educational support staff leave of absence, educational support staff return from leave of absence, and educational support staff resignation. Move up, no. Do that. Okay, personnel report reads as follows. For certified staff employment, Patrick Nicholas, Michelle Perry, Jonathan Ruby, Peter Secretary, and Deborah Stanuski. For certified staff reassignment, Courtney Cobb, Charlie Radford, Amanda Harmon, certified staff leave of absence is Amanda Harmon, Julie McCracken, and Julie Pedanico. For certified staff return from leave of absence, Tracy Machetti. Certified staff resignation, Maya Ali, Dawn Kosinski, Michelle Johnson, Christina Jones, Renee McFarland, and Judith Litka. For certified staff intent to retire, Joanne Sheep. Temporary educational sports staff employment, Justin Anderson, Trevor Browning, Michael Friel, Deshaun Hopkins, Rachel Ingram, Maria Stover, and Zachary Viss. Educational sports staff reassignments, Eric Grossi, Gilbert Jones, and Thomas Richards. Educational support staff leave of absence, Christina Cobbins, Leah Payton, Jennifer Pratt, and Lee Steinhauer. Educational support staff return from leave of absence, Christina Cobbins, Kathy Rosenbaugh, Lynn Steinhauer. And finally, educational support staff resignation, Cynthia Hams and Eric Mudd. And that is the personnel. Are there any questions?
Yes, a couple of spots you had here. Just general comments. And I think we talked about this before, where you have a person replacing another person, but there's no change in salary. And the officer who's going to actually put on the whoever is salary. We have two showing up on it.
The week, yeah,
Yeah,
we
there
always,
was a one, I guess, a lateral 1-to-1 ratio. As far as age, there was no change.
there was no change.
Whoever had replacement. You guys know what that's.
We can do that, no change, and put the salary in there. We've been just putting it if there's a change, but we can absolutely do it.
All right.
Absolutely.
There's one question. Michelle Johnson, principal. Have we started interviewing or getting applicants? So where are we at now?
The position has been posted, and we will be moving forward with interviews after the 10-day posting period is ended. Well, it'll be posted longer than 10 days, but for the CMA agreement, we have to allow us to have at least 10 working days before we do any interviewing. So we did post it right away. We do have applications coming in. It's not been a tremendous amount yet. We've been up for a couple of days. So we anticipate interviewing here towards the end of the month. I'm sorry? Yeah, I sent an email and it's in the FYI as well. Some people may not have an opportunity
opportunity to see that yet, but it is, I did put the process down, and I'll be happy, I'll go ahead and put it out here in the next step, but I will be sure to receive it. Okay, thanks.
I have another quick question. Looks like we have quite a few temporary technology positions for the summer.
For the summer, no,
The fact that we do not have a director of technology, do we have supervisors, additional supervisors who are going to, provide oversight for these positions?
but typically, the people who oversee the technicians are senior technicians and the network administrator and the systems administrator. They typically oversee all the technicians, including the temporary help. I don't know if Ken wants to add anything, but I don't anticipate any problems with oversight this year.
Well, who saw the need to have these positions?
These have been added because in the past, during the summer, there's a tremendous amount of technology work, moving equipment, setting up new equipment, updating, imaging, and so forth. And so these positions add to the workforce temporarily to help them get that all done in a relatively short period of time. You know, you're dealing with several thousand machines, you're trying to get it all done quickly. And so this has been, we had a few last summer, we had a couple of years without them, but typically we've had 3 or 4 every summer helping out.
You know, one of the things that I've done is I've really now, since we've only got a senior staff, to outline, keeping kind of on track to talk about projects and that. So one of the things that we talked about is getting some summer help with, specifically to looking at our high school and some high school kids there, to look at them and some skills, in that in this area, we feel there's some additional knowledge.
These are students.
Some of these are some first years. There are some a couple of returning people. I think one returning person that they did it last year, is going to do it also. So it's, it'll help if you have an idea. We have 1,300 Chromebooks that we use for our elementary school. Those are things that they can learn to do that won't harm any of our security buildings, anything that they shouldn't be doing to do that kind of stuff. So it's those type
And the very, while I see on the replacement cost, just wondering that if the student needs for a reason, it's not a personal list. On page, 460.
You're talking about the change to Monee Education Center. We had several students who transferred to Monee Education Center, and this person was working with those students at the high school, so the person moved with the students for the balance of the year.
Okay, that'll be the reason. The reason.
That is the reason, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to replace.
Understood. Actually, that should be a reason column. I apologize. That should be a reason column. Are there any other questions? Not in good vote. We didn't have, we have a motion to approve human resources deployment. No, you already read it. I already read it, so we just need a motion. Second.
Aye. Brown? Mrs. Galvin, Mr. Robert?
Aye. Alrighty then, do we have any other business?
Any other old business?
I was saying, as part of the school permit, if the board could be updated on what the outstanding work orders are. I was
Right. I can't do that, I can do that. I can do some of it now, or I can do it either way. Okay, that's fine.
or if you update also on the liquidation issue.
Yep, I have all of that. I have all of that. We're in our own business, we brought up around the, yeah, so I can share some information just around the FYI on the middle school. I can share some information in the FYI on the middle school and give you up to date with numbers and all.
We have to look close. I have been promised that this is it, and legal informed, this is.
And our legal is still involved.
Chance and chance and chance.
Well, they're off, the contractor is off the job right now. We have terminated that contract, we sent them a letter of termination for that, and so.
And we still have unfinished business.
There still is unfinished.
Why can't we go down there after you, going after the on the spot? Somebody has to finish the business, that work, who's gonna do that?
Well, so what, the last meeting we had with them was to, we made a proposal to them, what they should be paid out on that, and so we're waiting for their response.
Just think of that.
I believe probably 2 weeks ago. Ray sent them a letter of, Ray Hauser, sent them a proposal. I'm gonna say February, March, we never heard back. We said they were gonna get back to us, we never heard back. And finally, they wanted to set up a meeting, because they wanted to discuss it. Ray and I said, point one, we don't want to discuss it for 1 month.
So it's DLA.
DLA is not, because we part of the contract. The deal with it, we're not. So it's just. Well, yes and no. The contractor won the bid, they were low bid on December, so.
I remember sitting here and asking them questions, like, but anyhow, so it was only contract review, the lighthouse review.
And their legal team also. Yes.
Where was that?
That was no here, no there.
So now, did we give them a deadline to respond?
Yes, I believe very good, but I don't know what that is, so I'm finding it out. I can't, and I can let you know about the liquidated damages, I can also let you know the cost of what we estimated the work to do, so. Still open to.
And just answer the question, why are we not going after their performance line?
I will find out that answer. Yes.
We got 2 items. The TIF, University Park TIF information, did we get any farther with that?
I haven't got any response from them at all. I think we're supposed to have a meeting actually with Mayor Covington on Friday, and she did not show. Nor did she call. So I am making an attempt to follow up with that and have another meeting. Because at that meeting, I was going to talk to her not only about facility planning, but also the also. She did not show up on that. So.
Okay, did we get any more information from our attorneys on that?
No, they're recommending that we try and get some information to the employers. So I'm actually looking at Dr. Parks in order to create FOIA that we will send to them. And what we're really requesting is the financial data. Financial reports, financial reports of audits on each of them.
Right, that's the basic review. The other question I had was on this Peatone. Part of Monee talking about going to Peatone School District, was in the papers and stuff, and I know you addressed it a little bit in FYI, but just for the public, can you give an update on where that's at, please?
I don't know. I've done some research on it because tough is how does it affect our EAD that would happen. So I took a look at all the tax bills on the EAD. It gets I have to pull one by one. So there are approximately, and I'm just going off the top of my head on this one, there's approximately 100, maybe 100 lots. There's 50 homes in there. It's a airport community. It has an initially going through. The EAD, the current EAD on all those properties is approximately $8 million. That would mean when we do the calculation of our tax rate, we would lose somewhere between $700,000 to $800,000 a year in revenue for property taxes. I really don't know what the process is to go to another district. I know it's a very difficult process and an expensive one also, but I don't know the specifics of that. I'm trying to find it out, but I don't know. I don't want to do something else. Somebody else to look for that.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to figure out, is there someone, a point person that's the catalyst for this, or is it just some flash of paper that, I don't know.
I think this is something, from what I understand, is something that's called before. I think when people find out what the process is and the process associated with it, I think they do that process. I will say that tax rate of vehicle is lower than the tax rate that they have now. It's still just, so yeah, there would be a little reduction, but who knows what the possibly do that.
Okay, I appreciate if you'd keep us informed
Sure.
on both those issues, especially the tip issue, and perhaps the mayor was ill or something, and we could reschedule a meeting. Be appreciative. Thank you.
Any other old business? Any new business?
I have a few. I just want to let everyone know that I have been selected to be on the professional review committee. State superintendent select individuals from the state to be on the professional review committee for the equitable school funding formula issue. So with that law, it's a requirement to establish this review committee. So I am one of two board members that have been selected to be on that, and I'll be on it for the next 2 years. So I'll be a part of the process of giving input and helping the whole district become. So I'm excited about that. Our first meeting is next month. Also, I want to share that I will be in Springfield on May 30th. We are advocating for $400 million more to be added to the budget for education to help bring districts to adequacy. As we stand now, we have districts that are as low as 48% adequacy, and we have districts that are like 250% adequacy. So basically, there's a calculation where they look at the district's ability to fund education for each student. So we want everybody at 100% capacity to fund education for the students in the district. So we have some districts that are as low as 40s when it comes to them having enough resources and money to fund each student in their district. We have some districts that have more than enough. So the even 200+% of that. So I will be there advocating for that.
For that, what committee are you on?
I am a part of the Funding Illinois Future Coalition. So it involves legislators, superintendents, stakeholders, people that are involved in education, period. That's kind of how I got drug into it. But we are the coalition that helped to get this bill passed. Despite being involved, talking to legislators for Springfield, doing press conferences, I've testified in hearings to the state legislation, shared information from Crete, Monee, shared just, just trying to advocate for our schools to get the money. Also, I just want to quote unquote give a shout out to our recognition committee for the district under the leadership of Mr. Neal. We have been working throughout the year to increase the, equity around the district, and we did a survey at the beginning of the year asking staff members what they'd like to see in regards to being recognized and how they can feel appreciated. And my department has done an excellent job in leading the charge with that. And you all know about the retirement luncheon tomorrow, right? That is about everybody. We did something a little different this year. Instead of going to dinner, we decided to have conversations and survey to do a luncheon. And so that's tomorrow. So we hope those who are interested. The food that we did, okay. So if you're able to come tomorrow, that'd be great. And some very great committee members on there, teachers and staff from around the district that have great ideas, and they're working so hard to make this beautiful event, as well as the first time barbecue that's coming up at the end of the month for staff, and just showing our appreciation. So I just wanted to recognize them for that. And then also I mentioned earlier, Kids in the Hall is sponsoring a field trade informational for students at the high school. We are bringing in individuals who work in those areas, and I heard you guys mention, people, if they want to be a part of that, it's after school on the 29th of May from 2 to 4 p.m. Sure, I can. Absolutely. Just, give them an opportunity to come in and talk to them and ask questions. And we already identified, some students that said, hey, we have something I want information on. So our goal is to, pack the classroom and get students that area get the information that they need.
I want to wish you good luck on both. And the second one about equity, leveling the playing field, as a gentleman sitting to my left, 23 or 24 years ago. We've been trying to do this. The key to that one, get the monkey off the property tax line, so some big education. If you can do that, God bless you, and wish you all the luck in the world.
And actually, that 400 million that we're requesting, 50 million of that we're asking to go towards property tax relief. So,
we tried, Mr. Patman, myself, and William Nardell, and Sharon, all of us passed away in the silver road. Try to move the gauge down there, and you can get that fellow from Pulaski Avenue. First thing is to say, with mine, Michael, to do something about it. God bless you. Thank you very much.
thank you for what you've done. I don't take that lightly. I think it's just been a, multi-year process. Everybody has done a part that's led to this point. Our journey has been about 4 years, but clearly it's been going on for many, many years. People trying to get this done. So thank you.
Okay, great. Any other new business? Don't believe we have any for closed session. Have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.